All right, guys, just want to welcome back to the Everything College Football podcast. Today, I'll be doing my preview and prediction for a big time contest in the AAC between Navy and North Texas. Midshipmen sitting at 7-0, 7-1 for the Mean Green of a loss to USF, so another loss here could be problematic for them when it gets to winning this conference and potentially making the CFP. Getting things started with the Navy offense on that UNT defense for Navy. It's another year of greatness for this offense. They've gotten even better from what was a phenomenal unit a season ago, putting up 37 points per game, led by veteran quarterback Blake Horvath, who I think at some point could become a dark horse for the Heisman Trophy. Not getting as much attention as some of the top guys, but it's honestly a wide open race. And if he puts up a strong performance here, he could certainly start to sneak in the conversation. He's got 19 touchdowns on the year. This is a player who puts up 268 yards of offense. Last year, one thing you saw with Navy was them being able to throw the football. I mean, for them to put up 100 plus yards per game consistently, throwing the ball is pretty good, and they're doing it at about 150 yards per game this season with much better completion rating at 64.5%. So the efficiency and the production has went up significantly for this passing attack. Interesting variations in this triple option offense. You're going to see him getting shotgunned at times, a little bit more drop back passing than you're accustomed to seeing in this style of offense. But they've really started to tailor things around his strengths, and they've started to kind of modernize it a little bit more. And I think that's why they've been so much better over the years at operating this offense. Horvath, though, with his legs, 116 yards per game, 12 touchdowns in that regard of 814 yards. He's got a veteran running back in Alex Tegza, Brandon Chapman as well. I mean, pretty much the same guys from last year, including Eli Heinrich, who was their third leading running back. He's also their top pass catcher as well. He's a high performance guy, 570 yards and 4 touchdowns through the air. I mean, what he's able to do on a consistent basis is pretty impressive. I mean, they have nice producers all around the block for this offense. This is an offensive line. Ben Purvis at left guard, he's been a veteran for them. He was probably their best player overall. And you're going to be going up against a North Texas defense that's improved over the years. I mean, this used to be one of the worst groups in the country, always towards the bottom of the CFB in numerous categories. But I think for North Texas this year, they've significantly improved. They have a nice rotation on their defensive line. Ethan Day is probably their best defensive end. Bryson Hayes on the other side is pretty respectable. Richard Outland, Jaden Williams, Terrell Washington, a nice little group on the defensive line. You also have a nice linebacking group that I think is probably the strongest unit on this defense. Trey Fields has been great, very efficient tackler, very good against the run. Shane Wither as well, also very strong in those regards. Ethan Weslowski, this guy is probably their best playmaker. He's even better than them against the run. He's great at great negative plays, leading the team with 6.5 tackles for loss. Has a forced fumble and interception this year, so he does a little bit of everything for him. Kavion Huddleston's another one of those guys on the defensive line who's a nice playmaker with 6 tackles for loss, despite being a tad undersized at 260 pounds. I think in terms of matchup, though, Navy, they're not going to have the biggest offensive line in terms of size. Obviously, these guys are cadets, so they're not out here looking like Texas A&M at 350 pounds or anything like that. Usually in that 280 to 300 pound range. So they match up well, I think, here with North Texas on this side of the ball. When it comes to size in the trenches for North Texas. So this is a group that I didn't think would play very well against USF a couple weeks ago, and they started off hot on offense, and USF gifted them a couple of turnovers, and that allowed them to get off to a lead. But as the game wore on, they struggled bad. 300-plus rushing, they allowed almost 600 yards of total offense and 63 points. Against Army, they got off to a hot start. They ended up giving up 500 yards in that one. Some big plays as the game wore on, almost 400 rushing in that one. And they ended up going to overtime and surviving. So this is a defense that's definitely improved, but it's one that's not really that great. A couple of nice wins, though, for Charlotte and UTSA. Very similar scores in that one of 70-plus total points overall. So for North Texas, this is a group that's definitely improved, but they're still not that great. And I think they're definitely going to struggle when it comes to defending the run in this game. Where do you want to be stout? I mean, defending the edges and then in short yardage. That's how you slow these offenses down. You want to put them in obvious passing situations. I just don't think that Navy's going to be challenged that much in that regard. You're just hoping that if Navy's going to score, it's big plays more than long drives, and that's just odd to say, but it's going to happen. They're going to give up points in this game. There's no way around it. You want, an opportunity for your offense to work and not be put at a disadvantage. And I thought the pass defense did play quite well against Army, though. So if you want to comparable opponent with their triple option. They gave up 101 yards on 6 completions. Not ideal, right? They allowed those big plays, but they did snag a pick, and the efficiency was not there for Army. So I thought they played quite well overall. Moving to the other side of things, that North Texas offense on the Navy defense, this is a group that is high flying. Eric Morris has arrived And after a couple of years, he just continues to pump out high numbers for this unit. Chandler Morris transfers out. Drew Mestamaker comes in. I thought he was really good last year in that bowl game in his first career start. And since then, I was high on this guy, and he's just blown my expectations away, even in his first year as a starter. 308 yards per game, coming off a masterful clinic. 608 passing yards against Charlotte, 75.5% completion rating. He also had 4 touchdowns, one of the best performances you'll see from a quarterback all year. He also has 4 rushing touchdowns on the ground to go with his 21 through the air. He's only had 4 interceptions. Pretty much all those came against USF. He had 3 of them. He had one this past week against Charlotte. But against the Bulls, made some questionable decisions, forcing balls and whatnot. Not being as accurate as you're accustomed to seeing as the game wore on and they were playing from behind. This group has a lot of pass catchers. Wyatt Young, Cameron Dorner, the top 2 leading the way. Miles Coleman is a third guy on the team, has 30-plus receptions. Those guys really account for a large chunk of the production. Miles Coleman, I know, has been a little beat up, though, so we'll see what his status is. If he can't play, then Landon Sides is going to do great. Caleb Hawkins, the freshman running back, has been tremendous as a pass catcher with 264 and 3 scores. But as a running back, 547 and 7 touchdowns, giving them plenty of explosiveness. You also have Mackenzie McGill, who has 383 and 5 touchdowns. So they have plenty of bodies at numerous different positions here. North Texas has been tremendous on this side of the ball. And even against USF, the game for them turned into a bit of a struggle fest, but I mean, they still were able to put up 36 points. They got off to a hot start, and no one's really been able to contain this offense that much. Western Michigan, only scored 33 points on South Alabama 36. They squandered away some opportunities in that one. I mean, that's the low totals you're looking at, though, for North Texas. And the biggest concern for Navy is that they just don't practice against these type of offenses, right? The scout team, they're only going to be able to replicate a high-flying air raid so much. And this pass defense is already pretty bad. 256 yards per game they're giving up. FAU, that is, 381 yards and a 10-point victory this past weekend. Temple, in a 1-point victory, had 345 of their own. Air Force was able to generate some big plays. UAB also had 300 plus. I mean, this is just not that great of a secondary, right? And this is by far the best passing attack that has the most consistency they're going to see. So you're maybe seeing another 600-yard performance potentially in the cards, right, for Mestamaker. Kind of a joke, but not really, because I think they can certainly put up those type of numbers really against anybody. Philip Hamilton is going to have a tough ask at corner. Erba Onaya as well. I mean, these corners are probably going to have it up against them in the slot. You have Jackson Campbell, who's had a pretty respectable season. It's really going to come down to this defensive line being able to generate some pressure. Landon Robinson's a very good pass rusher for Navy, though, so I do potentially have a guy that can make some plays. 5.5 sacks for him. Adam Klenick at linebacker. Julian Malmo, he's been really good. Mark Anthony Parker is their top linebacker. He leads the team at 59 tackles. I think this is one of the lesser talented defenses, though. It's a bit of a younger group. Typically the service academies, it's usually loaded with seniors. You don't see as much of that with this group. A couple of younger cats are getting involved, mainly Parker as a sophomore. Hamilton, I alluded to, he's also a sophomore. So some younger guys on this defense. And I think for Navy, they're absolutely going to struggle in this game. And that's where it comes down to your offense being able to own time of possession. Leading me to the final thoughts on the prediction. I'm looking at a lot of points in this one, 50 plus for both. I remember last year, though, Navy played Memphis, and they ended up beating them. It was kind of an upset. I think they were like double-digit underdogs. I could be wrong, but I think they were dogs in that game against Memphis, and they beat them 56-44 in a shootout. And I think you're seeing similar in this game. I think that Navy's best chance to win again is just to hog time of possession and eat clock, and that's always potentially going to happen. But I think you're going to see them generate a lot of big plays in this game against the North Texas defense. I think UNT, they're going to have their opportunities to cook downfield, and they're also going to have a lot of big plays. So I think in terms of that, it's certainly in Navy's favor. 6.5-point underdogs. I think they're probably going to cover that one. I think the best bet, though, is going to be over 65.5. I really want to lean Navy, though, because, again, North Texas, they're going to generate with quick drives. And if you have a punt and your defense is on the field for another 5 to 8 minutes, that could certainly be problematic. But I think you're going to see both offenses just rip off big plays left and right. This is going to be a highly competitive affair between the offenses. I see North Texas pulling away with a late victory, 56-50. I could be totally wrong. Some of these games, again, when it comes to time of possession, could be slowed down in both regards. I know North Texas last year against Army, that ended up being a very low-scoring game. They won, they lost, that is, 14-3. So it's always possible you can get shocked and see a lot more defense than you should. I just don't anticipate that here. Maybe we don't see 100 combined total points. Maybe I'm being a little ridiculous there, but I think we're still going to see a high scoring affair. And it's going to be it for this episode. It should be a very interesting game, very crucial contest in the AAC. North Texas is going to stay, at the top of the conference with a victory here. So that's going to be it for today's episode. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.